Empowering the youth. Youth empowerment actors. Helping youth.
Good afternoon, televiewers of High Television Cameroon. Good afternoon to the entire public of Cameroon. Good afternoon, lovers of High TV Cameroon. Here comes another edition of our regular weekly educative program, Youth Empowerment Actors. Televiewers of High TV, if you are alive today, then you should be thanking God. And we say, as you are alive, then you should continue to be resilient. That is the watchword of our youth today. The topic of today is going to be what is hampering our two Anglophone regions when it comes to education. We are going to be looking at the necessity and the importance of education to the lives of the youth. So to discuss this topic, we have invited educators, we have invited administrators and entrepreneurs who are going to be looking at the nitty-gritty of what education has to do with one's life for it to emerge for a successful human being. The very first of them is an educationist, a psychologist, and a PhD fellow from the University of Buea. You're welcome, Busi Enes.
Thank you very much, Tambe. I want to say that this topic of today is a very important topic because I think education is a very powerful instrument that builds the mind. And I want to say here that it is very important we talk on this topic today because many of our youths are displaced out there and many are not willing to go back to school. And we think that they are the future leaders of tomorrow and education is very important. Like Plato, who says that there's one philosopher called Plato. And Plato says that education is what determines the future of our youth, their dreams. And one side philosophy also, Jean-Jacques Rousseau says that what? People are not empty vases, but they have inborn knowledge in them. And if our youths are out there and they are not going to school, it will hamper them. So if we are talking about education here, we should see it in different perspectives. There's informal education, there's formal education, and we'll be hampering here on formal education that takes place in the school where children school and acquire knowledge, skills and abilities and values that enhance their capacities for a brighter future. Thank you very much.
CNS, we have this intelligent young man, if I'm not mistaken, from Noni village, Butum Emmanuel. Butum Emmanuel, how can we talk about education where youths are displacing, students are displacing? Back in the days, we used to heard of rural exodus, but today people are calling it mass exodus. So what can you tell us for your own intro?
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. I must say that I'm very happy to really be here to handle this topic with my brothers here around me. I think that education is a very important tool which every student or every youth must pass through to get or to acquire skills, knowledge and values. It is a very, very important thing. If today students are not able to be in school or they are not there to acquire these skills, values, then the future is not having a path. But the future should lie on those students who are in school and those who have given up themselves to be able to acquire those skills, values and attitudes which must be important to themselves and which will help them to build and develop the society in which they are. Those students who are outside there, those who do not, like you're talking, you were talking of mass exodus and not raw exodus. Today, almost everyone is running away from Buea. You find parents carrying their kids, everyone is running away out. I want to tell them outside there that it's going to be very funny. You are going to see cases where the day they think that whatsoever will happen will not even happen. I am just advising my brothers and sisters who are outside there that tell your parents the core issue here is to stay indoors, be in your home and don't hesitate when you see that it's possible to go to school, you rush to school. If you see that your security is not guaranteed, don't go, but be in school and have that will and desire to learn. Thank you people very much.
The next person sitting beside Tingom Ferdinand is the CEO and founder of Evergreen Africa Foundation and also an engineer also a social entrepreneur. You are welcome, Robert.
Thank you so much, Dambe. I'm very delighted to be here once again after a very long time to discuss on the pertinent topic and one of the striking issues that is affecting our country today, the issue of education, especially two English-speaking regions of our country. And we were talking about the necessity and importance of education in the lives of young people. Like Prof. earlier said, that there are different forms of education, like the formal education, informal education, and the non-formal education. And the informal education is that we should sit in the confinement of a classroom to acquire knowledge, to be tutored. You have somebody like a tutor or teacher to impart this knowledge or to facilitate the process of your learning. And the informal education is that which you learn outside the scope of the school environment, maybe at the job site, at home, personal research. So today we are going to talk about the necessity and the importance of this education. I will start by quoting one of our African icons, Nelson Mandela, who said, "Education is the most powerful tool with which one can use in changing the world." Like you are seeing now, to see the importance of this, you see our parents, because of the social unrest in our regions, parents are doing everything possible to transport their children from here to where it is more safer for them to acquire knowledge, because they have realized that education is the only thing and the most important asset that they can pass to their children. Because without education, I don't think anybody will be able to know what he or she is doing here on earth. Because education gives us the ability to wonder, to think, and to analyze issues, and to know how to live in the society with different people with different characters. So education is one of the most important things that we see in life as a valuable tool to success.
Before I go to Ferdinand, you are the author of this topic who is telling us that education is important and is necessary. It's very necessary to the lives of the youth. There are a lot of youths out there who are providing home-based education. Are you one of them?
Yeah, that's the home-based education. Like I'm one of those persons that.
Okay, thank you very much. Next to at Songalem, Robert, we have this powerful young man in the city of Buea. If you are talking about painting in Buea municipality, we talk about Fesselins. He is Tingom Ferdinand. You are welcome.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, televiewers of High TV. I'm happy to be here today. And I believe we have a lot to share in the domain of education. Like my colleagues said, education plays a central role in the lives of every individual, and especially the youth, because if you're not educated, especially in the modern day of today, then you are missing out a lot of things, and your potentials cannot be well harnessed to give you the best that you can ever be. So that's just what I can say for now.
Why should we talk about the necessity and the importance of education where the atmosphere is not enabling? Taking into consideration that you are a student and you are a pedagogue, putting it to your place, will you advise your junior ones to go to school in such an atmosphere?
I think that I don't even need to think. Education is the core in our society. If students are not in school, if youths, if children are not sent to school, then we are building a blind future. Education opens our minds, opens the minds of students, of children, which we are building in our society. There is no society that is not building or hoping to build a very powerful future ahead. So those children who are home, they must be able and aspire to go to school. Parents must be able to send them to school for them to acquire those skills, those values which our society needs. They do not only need it for our society, but they need it for themselves too, to build themselves and to help develop the society at large.
All right, let me go to Robert. Robert, as the author of this topic, why do you think education is necessary at this particular time where the atmosphere is so unstable? You advise children to go to school where you see military men guarding the campus, you see military men shooting left and right. How stable can the mind of the learner be in class?
Well, I would like to draw you back to the context of this topic. It says the necessity and importance of education in the lives of young people, not the necessity and importance of school in the lives of young people. Yes, because not everybody that goes to school even get educated. Because some people go to school and at the end of the day they're not even educated. So what of education? We're talking about an environment, a system where you get knowledge, reasonable knowledge that can help you enhance or harness into the future. So I want to remind us that education is a human right. It's a human right, and it is an inalienable right. It's a right that nobody can take it away from you, only death. Education, you have the right to education. Even those who are in prison, whom their right of freedom of movement have been seized, their right of education are still there. So education is a human right, and everybody in the world wants to be educated. And I would like to quote first one of our African icons who was once been the Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, who says, "Knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is the promise of progress in every society and in every family." So education is power, and knowledge is liberating. Without education, my brother, we are building a society of illiterates, and that is not what we want for our country. So whether the atmosphere is safe or not safe, everybody has the opportunity to go to school, whether in the house or in school.
Okay, before I go to the psychologists, we said without education we are building a society of illiterate. Can you be educated without schooling?
Well,
Say yes or no
yes.
answer? Yes, Busi, and then I would like you to proceed from this question before I ask you my own question. Can you be educated without schooling?
Of course, can be educated without schooling. It's true.
Okay, thank you very much, Busi Ernest. We are blessed that you are a psychologist in the house. As a psychologist, and we have learned in education that if you must learn, you must be ready, you must have the interest, and your mind must be at peace. Do you think we have those prerequisites as we are talking now?
That's a very nice question, Tande. I must tell you, I will differ a bit with my brother there that for learning to take place, there must be a stimulating environment. The environment must be enabling and secure, because you are talking about mental readiness. Our learners must be mentally ready. How should they be mentally ready? You must be psychologically ready, meaning that the willingness must come from within. And you must also have what they call socio-emotional readiness. If you don't have that socio-emotional readiness, you can't be ready for schooling. So the environment is very important for readiness, for schooling. And I want to say there's one American figure that said, Martin Luther said that what? For proper learning to take place, it is very important that the minds of our learners must be ready, and education is not only for them to acquire intelligence, but there must be that what he calls moral development, because education goes with what he calls moral development. And I want to say that as a scholar and a psychologist, for proper learning to take place, you must be psychologically ready. That is psychologically readiness, meaning that our youths cannot go to school when they are not psychologically ready. And Albert Einstein says that what? Education is a tool that brings about intellectual growth. So it is very important that our youths are out there, the government should bring about an enabling environment that will enable our students to study and acquire knowledge, skills, and creative, because you cannot acquire creativity when the environment is not welcoming. So we need a welcoming environment that will set a pace for our children to go to school, or else we will remain in informal education at home. But informal education cannot be this country. We need formal education, and we need that proper environment that is enabling for schooling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Busi Ernest. Informal education cannot build this country without formal education. Let me go to Tingom Ferdinand, the Managing Director of Fesselins Enterprise in Buea. Ferdinand, I'd like to come to you with practical question, because you are like a role model to the youths out there when it comes to parentalhood. You are a parent. When it comes to managing an enterprise, you have a big enterprise. So I want to find out from you, as a youth, will you advise at this time that we should consider formal education, that is schooling, parts of education, or if you can be put in a position to make a decision or to advise a lot of parents out there who are confused, what will you advise? Will you advise a home-based education, or the informal education, or non-formal, that going to church is still education?
I think There are two, let me put it this way. We have the formal and the informal. The informal, we have the school setting that gives us that general knowledge. But I would not say the nature of our country is a relatively funny, especially our own region where the educational system is ineffective or maybe now it's not going at all. But the basic idea is that we must separate these two things. We can learn in school, but we can also learn at home. And so we must know that if the schooling system is not efficient, let's not ignore our children. I have my daughter, and she has learned how to read and write at home during this short period because I discovered that putting her without doing anything is causing a lot of harm. But I want to emphasize, looking at the youth in the world of today, if you have the basic skill, the basic ability to read and write, then you can achieve any level of education you want in the world of today. We have platforms. As we'll be discussing, you can look at how you can actually learn. And my focus here will be on personal education. I want to ignore the general education because general education forms you to just be a normal person. People who stand out as professors, I don't want to put professors because they're academicians, leaders, CEOs, and most of these people, exceptional person in the world of education, they acquire through what? Personal education. And personal education has to do with you taking an extra effort to learn the skills, the knowledge, read the books that you think will help you, do the things, study the things that help you to achieve your goal in life. And so, what I do today, I did banking and finance. From banking I went to sociology, but I don't practice some of those things. I can say, okay, I interact on daily basis, but a greater part of my daily life is what I've learned, and that is what I'm here to educate others, to encourage them that forget the fact that schools are not going. It will only be an excuse. The excuse you use tomorrow will also they will use the same excuse to say you don't have this deal because you cannot do this because the school system was not functioning. But at the end of the day, they say, okay, we will not still have this opportunity because the school system, they will use the same excuse. But if you put down yourself as a young person with ambition, then you can achieve any goal in the world of today. Forget the fact that schools are not good.